Medicaid, and Social Security without cuts. Have to do it. Get rid of the fraud, get rid of the waste and abuse, but save it. People have been paying in for years, and now many of these candidates want to cut it.
From day one of his campaign, the president promised he would not cut Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. Unlike his opponents, he'd be a different kind of Republican, and voters rewarded him for it in the primary, particularly, and in the general election. But today, the White House released its budget for 2018, and among the $4 trillion in cuts it proposes are billions upon billions of dollars slashed from both Medicaid and Social Security. The Republican health care plan passed out of the House already included $880 billion in cuts to Medicaid. On top of that, the Trump budget would cut an additional $616 billion over 10 years, all but gutting the program. The president's budget would also slash funding for Social Security Disability Insurance, SSDI, which provides benefits to people with disabilities. Many of those people were once factory workers, manual laborers in places like the Rust Belt, which of course helped deliver the president's electoral college victory. In fact, you can see from this map that the highest participation in Social Security disability insurance is concentrated in the South. States like Louisiana, Mississippi, Kentucky, West Virginia, all in the Trump column in 2016. House Budget Chair Mick Mulvaney was asked about the impact of those SSDI cuts earlier today.
Will any of those individuals who presently receive SSDI receive less as a result of this budget?
I hope so. If there are people who are getting SSDI who should not be getting it,
Those people who should be getting it, they receive less.
Oh no, if people are really disabled, we are not kicking anybody off of any program who really needs it.
That remains to be seen. Of course, the president's budget is so extreme, it's quite hard to find anyone on Capitol Hill of either party who supports it, including Republicans. What Republicans are saying about the president's budget, coming up next. Dead on arrival, that's how the number 2 Republican in the Senate, John Cornyn, described the president's budget, which was unveiled today. Other Republican lawmakers have criticized the proposal for its steep cuts to Medicaid, its reduction in State Department funding, and for its over-optimistic growth projections, among other issues. The reaction has been so negative that, according to the Associated Press reporter Erica Werner, House Speaker Paul Ryan had to tell House Republicans not to fall into the trap of criticizing the Trump budget, arguing there's plenty to like. And that's true if you happen to be among the wealthiest Americans. The president's budget trades massive tax cuts for the wealthy for absolutely unprecedented cuts to programs that help people with low incomes, including welfare, Medicaid, food stamps. But here's the thing, it goes much further than that. The Trump budget would slash funding for most government agencies, affecting everything from cancer research to the Special Olympics to diplomatic security, would limit agricultural programs under the Farm Bill, would drastically shrink the federal student loan program for low-income students. In other words, something for just about everyone to dislike. I'm joined now by Senator Jeff Merkley, Democrat from Oregon, a member of the Senate Budget Committee. Do you agree with Senator Cornyn that this is DOA?
Well, yes, I do. A budget is a statement of values, and the first value we learned is that President Trump doesn't have the integrity to honor his campaign promises on Medicaid and on Social Security. We also learned that it's not an America first vision for America, it's billionaires first, and it's rural and working Americans last. And this budget just proceeds to eviscerate rural America.
How so?
Well, it does so through rural development, slashing rural development, rural business services, rural transportation, rural water supply programs, rural airport services, rural clinics, rural hospices, rural post offices, and even rural rental housing. I'm trying to say all of that quickly.
Right, yeah, rural juror. So here's my question to you. I mean, look, any attempt from those who sort of want to cut spending is going to meet with resistance, right? The folks that say it, Mick Mulvaney and others, say this is the kind of thing we need to put, quote, taxpayers first, that it's politically difficult to cut spending in any case, that they're being brave, essentially, in proposing this when there's very little political upside. What do you say to that?
Well, it's certainly putting taxpayers first if you're a billionaire taxpayer. but it's putting Americans, working Americans, struggling Americans, middle-class Americans in a terrible bind, undercutting the core programs that support you both in rural America and in urban America. I think about this woman, Carol, who contacted me from a small town in Oregon, and she said, look, my husband, we've been married 33 years, he has dementia, he's in a nursing home, the Medicaid being cut will destroy the support for him to be in a nursing home. She can't care for him because she has congestive heart failure, and she's concluded her letter by saying, if we lose the ACA, if we lose the Medicaid, surely I will die. And I think she's speaking for millions of Americans who are struggling, trying to get by, who have worked their lifetimes, their bodies are worn out. These programs have given them peace of mind that if they have their loved one has a medical problem, they'll get the care they need, and the peace of mind that they won't go bankrupt. And these programs have supported the economy, and they're just being torn apart. It's as if the president has no vision of how America really works.
So you've articulated in that both, I think, a substantive defense and then the merits of something like Medicaid, the Medicaid expansion particularly, and opposition to cuts, but also a political case, right? I mean, what's remarkable to me about the budget is that it goes after so many different things: cancer research, National Institutes of Health, things that are quite popular. I mean, these are not programs that are perceived to only benefit a few. There was a time when the president himself recognized the danger of this kind of thing. This is back in 2012. Here's the president then tweeting about the Ryan budget. Paul Ryan's budget is very dangerous for the Republicans just before the election. Be careful. What has changed?
Well, I don't know that the president has a grip over his own budget. His team is careening from one place to another. Certainly, I can tell you, I've been out in rural counties in Oregon. I have a town hall in every county. I've been in at least a dozen Republican counties since January, and people are infuriated with the Republican leadership.
But you're a Democratic senator. Of course you're going to say that.
Well, I tell you, it's very strange. In 2009, when I was first elected, I'd go into these counties. I committed to be there in every county, and people came out. They were ready to tear my heart out because they thought Obamacare was some type of socialist, foreign, contrived takeover.
So these are places where you met with a lot of political activism, opposition.
Oh, absolutely. I've been on the receiving end of that for sure. And in half of those counties, I walked into the room and had people stand up and start applauding. They are looking for champions to stop this craziness, this destructive set of strategies that Trump is putting forward, and his budget embodies that.
I kept thinking about cuts to SSDI, and I thought about the places that I've traveled and voters I've talked to across this country, and what it would mean for them and the politics of that. It's explosive. Senator Jeff Merkley, thanks for joining me.
You're welcome.
Still to come.